speaking about the ideas of, on the one hand, there's multiple tzמצומim that it's brought down. On the other hand, despite the fact that it's brought down multiple levels of tzמצומim, it's before the tzמצום. This is something that's rarely discussed in Chassidus, and the reason why it's rarely discussed is, on the one hand, we say that the honor of Hashem is haster dover, that things are not necessarily all revealed, and even though we need to know Seder Ishtalshlus, and also it has to do with understanding and appreciating the connection with Hashem's very essence. So we shouldn't undersell ourselves and listen to the Klugenker, like the Rebbe says, to listen to the Yetzer Hara and believe that somehow our connection is not with Hashem's very essence, but rather to realize both the world and our own connection especially is with Hashem's very essence. So that's why there's no need to emphasize to the strongest degree about all these levels of tzimtzumim before the tzimtzum harishon. What's more important to emphasize is our connection with Hashem Himself, and that's the emphasis of Chassidus. On the other hand, the Rebbe goes back. We still need to know about these details. So let's see on the third page of the printouts, second paragraph, Ois Gimel. We'll move on. It's understood, the intention and all of the above, that we're going through, all that we're in a way saying about all these details not being focused on and only rarely spoken about. So, eina lishlos ina protim. It's not to negate the details of the different levels and the tzimtzumim and so on. Surely there has to be a meditation and contemplation on the details and the specifics, like the Mittler Rebbe explains in Shari Yichud, where you had this in the Maimer, that a person's obligation of knowledge of Hashem and contemplating on Hashem has to be on the details as well. So we need to know, and we need to understand the specific levels of Seder Ishtalshlus, even before the Tzimtzum Harishon. And the Rebbe explains, just like concerning the contemplation about how the worlds came into being and how creations came into being. It's insufficient. Just contemplating and meditating on the unbelievable idea of yesh me'ayin, the creation, something from nothing, is an amazing thing. Without even going into all the details of the creation of yesh me'ayin, just the very aspect that Hashem created the world's yesh me'ayin is a powerful thing. Still, in all, that's insufficient. We also have to know the specific worlds and the creations that came into being. And in this itself, of knowing the details of the worlds and the creations, not just how great your actions are. Greatness means how massive, how wonderful, how high, how elevated they are, but also how many they are. So in other words, it's not just enough to know the quality of the creations and how amazing the creations are, which help us understand the power of Hashem, but also the many aspect, the manifold aspect, the quantity of the creations also is something that we need to meditate on. The Rebbe goes on the brackets, for this reason, the Rambam went into such great length in all these specific matters of the creation. Because since the command to know that there is a first existence, and from that first existence, all existences came into being, so you need to know about the existences that came into being. It also includes all these specific matters, to know all the different existences that came out. Magam Shaideza Dafke Boim Lavos Hashem Yirosichulu, and even more so because through knowing all of this and going into all these details, only through this we come to loving Hashem and being in awe of Hashem. So first there's the mitzvah of the knowledge of Hashem, that's its own mitzvah, and that mitzvah of knowledge needs the idea of knowing everything we know about the creation that Hashem invested himself in. And the other step, the other component of this is that a person also, through knowing all these details that lead to knowing of Hashem's greatness, bring us to a greater love and a greater awe of Hashem. So therefore, in a similar vein, just like it's in the creation in general, going back to the source of the creation, the level of the oir, so too it's concerning the level of the light. That through the light was the coming into being, like we said before, even though it comes from Atzmus, even though the fact that there could be an existence that believes itself to be of itself and not created by anything, can only come from Hashem, who truly comes from himself. But that has to go via the Eibishter's oir, that is being communicated through the oir. So therefore, we need to know all the levels of the light. Not just the oir that's included in Hashem's essence, also all the detailed levels of the light that's drawn down, and the constrictions that go from one level to another level. So in other words, you can talk about the different levels of oir, but somehow skip the Tzimtzumim. No, we have to talk about the Tzimtzumim also as the Maimer and Tavshim Memhei goes into the Basar Legani Maimer. Hein Lifnei Tzimtzum, both the different Tzimtzumim that the oir has before the Tzimtzum Arisha, before Hashem made that empty space. We also have to know and contemplate and be aware of and study all those tzimtzumim that took place after the tzimtzum Arisha. So the Rebbe explains now the balance between the two. Knowing, not speaking so much. So he says like this, Kavonos hadvarim mi'eifo. So what's the meaning of these matters? Comes out along with knowing the details, drusha, hayidiyah, v'adgosha, it's necessary, the knowledge and the emphasis, shamitas mitziyusam, their true existence, gam la'achrei sheyeshna mitziyus v'poel, top of the next page, even after they exist. In such a way that they're divided into details, is necessary to know that He ha'atzmus, its true being, its true existence is Hashem's essence. Both concerning the light, like we said before, should be Yosei called B'Shemesh Mitziyus. Yibieser says that when the light is included in the sun, so its very existence is in a much more powerful way than when it came out of the sun. And also we need to know about its relationship to the worlds. Kadgosh is our Rambam, that like the emphasis of the Rambam is Chayisoid, the basis and the foundation. Yisoid Yisoid is like the Rambam says, the foundation of all foundations shall call Protim Elo of all these details, Wamitis Imotzei Atzmos, is the true being of which is Hashem's very essence. So we need to know that everything is Hashem's essence. That's who their true being is, while knowing all these details and while understanding all these different levels. So you know about all these levels, and you're saying in all these levels, and what do all these levels manifest, and what are they all about Hashem's essence? That's the entire idea of our avodah. To draw down, to reveal in the existence of the details, the foundation and the root of all these details. Since this avoid is accomplished through the combination of Yidden and Torah, as we know from the right away, the beginning of Bereshis, Shebeshvilam Nivra Olam, that for the sake of Yisrael and Torah, the world was created, as the Rebbe always quotes the Rashi right away at the beginning of Chumash, Bereshis, Beis Reshis. For two things are called Reshis, Nivra Olam, Bara Elokim. There's the Reshis, Torah is called Reshis, Yidden are called Reshis. What does that mean? That when you have the combination of the two, of Yidden and Torah, so their avoida is hainu hamashlimim sakavona nalba b'riyas ha'olam, that they are the ones that fulfill and complete the above mentioned intention in the creation of the world, to know and recognize Hashem and Hashem's very being. Therefore, this whole idea begins from the Yidden and Torah. So he's going to say how in Torah we have the same type of relationship. We have the everything, and we have the details, and then we have the everything, how it comes into details. And that's Aseret HaDibros versus the rest of the Torah. Anoich Hashem Elokecha versus the rest of the Aseret HaDibros and the rest of the Torah, etc. That we have the all-inclusive level, like Hashem's very essence, like Atzmos, and then you have the details, but they cannot be divorced one from another. We need to see Hashem's essence in the details, just like we have to see the Anoichi in all the details of the Torah. Let's see inside. That's why Hashem spoke the ten dibros. He said it all in one speech, without any type of separation between them. And afterwards, Hashem brought it out, every single dibur, every single one of the Aseret HaDibros, distinctly and separately. Surely there has to be all the details, just like we need to have all the details of all the levels of Seder Ishtalshlus. But rather the beginning and the foundation of all the details, even the way they come out into being broken down into the details, into the division of the details, it is all one item of speech, one entity. Similar to the statement of the Frierdiker Rebbe, all the 10 dibros are included in the first dibur of the Aseret HaDibros. The dibur Rishon kol b'teva Rishon Anoichi, and the first one of Anoichi Hashem Elokecha is included in the first word Anoichi. The tevas Anoichi klula b'rosh hateva is aleph, and the word Anoichi is included in the first letter of the word Anoichi, which is aleph. So in other words, you have everything the way it's included in the source, but then it comes out into the details. According to what's explained previously, it's understood. What is the meaning of dibur echad over here? He uses the word echad. What's the emphasis of echad? K'moy yachid. It is like the idea of yachid. The echad has the meaning of yachid. What's the difference of echad versus yachid? Kelaimar eina kavana leechad hashoil inyan sheni. Echad ve'in sheni. It's not echad as it's meant to negate having another. In other words, like it says in the pasuk, that there's echad ve'in sheni. That we're not even talking about. But the echad of dibur echad is to teach you something else. Elokema yachid. What's the meaning of the word yachid? Shemiyuchad be'etzem. That it is essentially one. That's the difference between yachid and echad. Echad could mean as something that's one, and there's truly no other, or else you would say rishon, not echad. But yachid is to exclude even any parts. It's achtas pshuta, like the expression is in Chassidus. So if it's trying to tell you that idea, when it's trying to say that Hashem said all the Aseres HaDibros, B'dibur Echad, he's really meaning Yochid. Why does he say Dibur Echad? He could say Dibur Yochid. Mashakos of Dibur Echad, the reason why it says Dibur Echad, Harei ze kedei lahadgish tzekoilol as hapratim. He wants to emphasize that it includes the details. It does have the details in there. But in what type of way does it include the details? In a pure, pristine, simple state. The inclusion of all the details in the one dibur of the Aseres HaDibros. Is in such a manner that the idea of division does not apply. It's all yachid. According to this is also understood the reason for this. That the beginning of the Aseres HaDibros is in the most highest matter that we begin with the idea of Anoich Havai Lekecha. I am Hashem your God, the most ultimate, highest ideas, especially the way Chassidus explains it, Hashem's unity and oneness and so on. V'siyumam, and the conclusion of the Aseres HaDibros is b'dvarim achim pshutim, is in the most simplest, mundane matters, ad lo yisachmet goymer, until even you should not desire things that are not yours. Lahoiris, this is to teach us, shagam kiyum ha'inyanim achim pshutim, even the fulfilling of the most simple matters, tzarech li'yischadar b'dibur harishon, has to be permeated with the first dibur anoich havai lekecha. In other words, just like we said before, that by, in a way, downplaying and not speaking so much in Chassidus about the different Tzimtzumim in the Eirun Saf Shlifnei Tzimtzum, it's to emphasize and to show that even in the details, even in us, even in this world, Atzmus is here, and we do not just have to do with the Eir, we have to do with Hashem's very essence. The same way that from that Anoichi, it's supposed to be impact and influencing the level of the most banal and mundane types of tzivui. And the Rebbe says, because otherwise, then even the most basic things won't be fulfilled. Like we see with our senses in this generation, how did people act? In other words, he's referring to the Nazis in Machshvam and so on, in matters that according to human intellect would say that this is necessary. Do not murder. When they separated it from Anoich Havai Lekecha, then the Lo Sirtzach loses its power and strength. And the Rebbe says, top of the fifth page, top of page Memhei, that in truth, this is something that we have an example even in Torah, that we even find in Torah a situation where if there is a separation between Anoich Havai Lekecha and mundane commandments, so then all of a sudden the mundane commandments lose its power. This is explicit in the Torah when it says the story with Avimelech and Avram Avinu, that Avram Avinu said that I am, that when Avimelech came with kindness with Avram Avinu, why did you trick me into thinking that Sarah was your wife? So Avram Avinu said, Rak in Yiras Alakim b'makom hazeh, only I thought there was no fear of God in this place. They would kill me for my wife. In other words, since Avimelech would want to marry Sarah, Sarah was already a married woman. He wouldn't marry her. He wouldn't take her away from her husband if she was married. So therefore, they would kill me, Avram Avinu said, rather than they would kill me. Meaning, so Avram Avinu was saying like this, that this is a person that wouldn't want to live with an Eishes Ish, but he would murder. Why? Because like Avraham Avinu said, Ein Yiras L'Elokim V'Makom Hazeh. Now, interesting. The Rebbe says, listen to this. Medubar oidus goy tzaddik. We're talking about a guy who was righteous. Like Avimelech said, would Hashem punish a righteous guy with someone that's not righteous? In other words, I was totally innocent. Where is his righteousness? His righteousness is because he would not dare to approach a married woman because of the command of Loisinov that you're not allowed to commit adultery. And the din of Loisinov should only applies by a married woman. Va'afal became still in all, even though he's so righteous that he wouldn't want to be over on Eishes Ish, they would kill me. Avraham Avinu is saying, because of my wife, so it shouldn't be an Eishes Ish. So here you're such a tzaddik, and you consider yourself a tzaddik, and on the other hand, Avraham Avinu says, but you would still kill me anyway. So you could see that a person can have certain quote-unquote morals to consider himself a tzaddik, but if there's no yiras alakim b'makom hazeh, if there's no anoichi avay lakecha, so then loisitzach doesn't matter. Murdering doesn't matter. So this is the idea of how we see in Torah how the big picture and the big levels have to manifest itself into the details. Just like Atzmus has to come through all the details of the Tzimtzum, but has to be felt, not all the details so much, and not all the different levels, but has to be felt that Atzmus is down here with us. Second paragraph on page 5. Like we said before, this is also emphasized in the existence of Yidden. Hakshura Torah canal that's connected with Torah, just like Torah has the general level of Anoich Havai Lekecha that has to impact and influence all the details. The same thing, Yidden reflect this as well. Even when Yidden are in a way that they're divided into details, their true existences, the way they are in their root, that there is one Father for all of them, that one has to feel and one has to appreciate that there's one Father to us all. Therefore, so in other words, again, we have the details, but we shouldn't be focusing on the details because that causes division. But the Avos Yisrael is resulting from the fact that we are all from the big picture, all from the Av Echad L'Kulana. So now when you have Yidden and Torah both, the details manifesting and expressing the big picture, but Torah mitzvah through the avoid of Yidden and Torah and its mitzvahs, Poilin Kain Gambim Tzias Oilam, we have influenced that way also in the existence of the world. In all existences, quoting the Rambam, in the heavens and the earth and everything in between, Yurgish Hayesoid Vayeshoirish should be felt, the base, the foundation, and the root. Amitis Himotzai, the true existence of the Eibishter. That's the idea of the word Anoichi. Like the Rambam concludes, the knowledge of this matter. All existences do not come into being only from his true existence. Mitzvahs asay, that is a positive mitzvah. Shenamar anoich havai lekecha. That's the mitzvah of anoich Hashem lekecha. It doesn't say a mitzvah. It doesn't say don't do this or do this in the first dibur. So the Rambam explains what is the first mitzvah of Aser Sadibris, of the words Anoich Havai Lekecha, the knowledge, the awareness, the fact that it permeates everything else, Hashem's existence. Or using the Zohar's terminology, this mitzvah precedes all the other mitzvahs, is the first to all mitzvahs, to know Hashem. The Ihud Ribon Alma, he is the master of the world. Ubara Almin, and he created Almin Kulu, that he created all the worlds entirely. Shemaya, Va'ara, the heavens and the earth, v'chol chalei and chulu, and all their hosts, the chol tzva shamayim.